Everybody, and welcome to my very first vlog of 2025. I am actually so excited. I'm so excited that I'm finally getting back into vlogging. I have not filmed a vlog since like mid-December, and it's now mid-January, so it's been a very long time for me, at least, to go without filming a vlog. So I'm excited. I think Winnie is outside my door, so maybe she's excited too. I don't know. Let me get her in here. Honestly, it's like she has a sixth sense for when I'm filming vlogs, because I've been filming for the last like half hour, like an actual like normal video, but the second I start a vlog, she comes in and she starts making noise. Stop! The disrespect already. I've only been filming for a minute. Also, if I do sound a little bit nasal, I do have a wee bit of a cold, so don't mind that. I feel like I always have a cold in January. It's inevitable at this point. Anyway, before I was so rudely interrupted, I was about to start talking about my reading plans for this vlog because I do have quite a few books that I'm going to be reading in this vlog. It is currently Sunday, January 12th, and I've not finished a single book so far this year. I have been doing a decent amount of reading recently, but I just have not gotten around to finishing a book yet this year. Oh, now you want to come say hi? Oh, it wouldn't be a start to a vlog if Winnie didn't come and interrupt. You're so cute. All right, bye. I have been doing reading. I haven't just like not been reading, but I've been reading Wind and Truth, which has definitely taken me a very long time to read. I think this book has maybe taken me the longest a book has ever taken me to read it, like while I've been continuously reading it. So it's been like a month and a half at this point, but I'm in the final stretch, so let's talk about it. Wind and Truth. She's so beautiful. I just love the cover of this book. It's so stunning. I am very far into this book, not where this post-it note is, because I did mark out like the 10 days that this book is like told over. So I'm currently on day 9. I'm on page 1114. So I've been definitely making some good progress, which I'm very happy about, and I will be finishing this book today. I don't know, I still have like 200 pages to go, which in Stormlight does take me quite a long time to read just because there's so much text on the page, which is fine, but like I'm just realistically, I don't know if I can read that much today. But I do have some sprints with my patrons. It'll also be my first like sprints I'm doing on my Patreon this year as well. So fun stuff today, which I will definitely be utilizing to read a lot of Wind and Truth as well. So hopefully just a lot of reading happens today because I would honestly like to finish this book. As for my thoughts on Wind and Truth so far, I think I'll go into it in a little bit. I do want to talk about the rest of my TBR that I have for this vlog and like the stuff that I'm gonna do in this vlog as well, but we'll get into it. We'll talk about it. I have thoughts. Not all of them are great. For the most part, they're good. But I do have thoughts, so we'll talk about it in a little bit here. But then the 3 other books that I want to read, that's right, I said 3. It's not that crazy, honestly, though, because they are all novellas. They're little shorties. They are all sci-fi novellas. I've been wanting to get into some sci-fi some more, so I figured sci-fi novellas seemed like a good place to kind of do that. So I have 3 here today. 2 of them are actually series continuations, and then 1 of them is not. So I figured this would just be a really nice stack to pick up after I finish my 1,300-page book. I have some little guys to keep me going, keep me motivated. So the first one that I have is A Prayer for the Crown Shy by Becky Chambers. This is the second book in the Monk and Robot series duology. I don't know if there are gonna be more books in this series or not, but I read A Song for the Wild Built early last year, and it was just such a cozy, kind of comforting read. It wasn't anything like groundbreaking or crazy, but I enjoyed my time reading it. So I've known I wanted to pick this book up, so I did pick this up from the library. Actually, my 3 little novellas are all from the library. So I'm starting off the year by utilizing my library well, which always makes me happy. But this is basically just following a traveling tea monk and a robot that they meet along the way, and it's a little bit philosophical. It's a little bit, you know, meandering at times as well, but it's nice. It's just a comforting read, so I've known I wanted to get to this one. Then the other continuation is Artificial Condition by Martha Wells. This is the second book in the Murderbot series. I read All Systems Red like at the end of December-ish, and I really, really enjoyed it. I just thought it was so interesting. Very much not my typical fare, but I had a great time. Basically, the series is following a murderbot who is basically like hacked his own mainframe so he has autonomy, but he's not really using this for nefarious purposes. He's really just using this so he can watch his soap operas all day long, which I think is hilarious. I love it. I love Murderbot. He's so relatable. He's so funny, and I'm really excited to read All System No. Artificial Condition. The second one, yes, okay. And then the last one that I have here is a very popular book that has been on my radar for a very long time because I've seen so many people read this book. And I've always like kind of been hesitant of it because I was like, I'm not really a sci-fi person. But I decided it is finally time for me to try out This Is How You Lose a Time War. I believe this is told in letters between two people who are like on opposite sides of the war. And I think they slowly fall in love or something to that effect. So I've just always been intrigued by this one, and I'm really excited to see what I think of it. So those are my reading plans for the week. They are a bit abundant, but again, 3 novellas probably equals the length of like 1 book, so it's nothing crazy. And then I do have the 200 pages left of Wind and Truth, so really I'm just reading like 4 novellas this week, so very excited about all of these. I've been planning to do like my little sci-fi novella spree since, I don't know, like mid-December or something. I've been waiting to read all 3 of these in one go. So I cannot wait for this vlog. I hope you guys are excited for the books that I decided to pick up. Definitely a bit different from what I normally pick up, but I want to try some more sci-fi, so this will be good. So there we go. Those are my reading plans for the week. Obviously I'm going to be starting Wind and Truth because I just want this to be my first read of 2025, and I'm hoping to finish it today. We'll see how it goes, but that is my goal. Anyway, as for other things that I'm going to be doing in this vlog, I don't really have a lot of plans. Per usual, you guys already know how it is. I do have a small project that I've been planning to do recently, so I thought I would do that in this video. Because if there's one thing you need to know, actually you don't need to know this about me, but I love a garland. I feel like a garland is just such a fun decor element to add somewhere. Like, I just enjoy garlands. But I feel like the only kind of garlands I have are like holiday-ish garlands. So I have like a bat garland for Halloween, and I have like a candy cane garland for Christmas. But I need a general garland. So I decided to make one. It's gonna be a like star garland. I have already made like the pieces for it. I made these out of air dry clay that I had left over. They look like little buttons and I think they're so cute. But I need to paint them because they are a little bit boring just being white, and I'm going to string them with some twine. But I need to paint and seal these is basically what I'm saying, and I'm going to do that at some point in time this week. But those are honestly my only plans that I have for the week. I just have a lot of reading that I want to do and my small random craft that I want to do as well. Oh, also big news, very big news that I would like to share with you guys. I will show you her later, but we did get another cat. More so actually the cat got us, because if you guys don't know, there was a big snowstorm in the Midwest like last week or something like that, and there's this little kitten who was like 4 to 5-ish months old, and she was just like out in the storm. So we brought her inside. She's so freaking cute. We did put up listings on like Facebook and like other websites and stuff, but nobody has claimed her. So I'm thinking she is officially ours. I have named her. Her name is Daisy. I thought it would, like, you know, the flowers worked well. Like, we have Poppy, then we have Daisy. She's a mix between a calico and a tabby, and she is like one of the cutest cats I've ever seen. But I wanted to share that obviously because I show my cats all the time. Also, I never talked about this publicly because like, how do you bring up the fact that one of your cats passed away casually? I don't know, but Fritz did pass away back in July. It was time for her to go. She had like hyperthyroidism, and it was getting really, really bad for her. So she passed away in July, which is obviously really hard for all of us to deal with. But then this like little kitten shows up in a snowstorm one day, and I was like, oh my god. We have to keep her, and we are keeping her. She's so cute. She's just so friendly too, and she's just been a delight to have in the house over the last like week or so. Winnie and Poppy are not super happy about her, but I say it sucks to suck because she's staying, obviously. And I wanted to share that with you guys because I'm just so excited about it, and that is definitely like a big thing that has happened in my life recently. So I will show you guys some clips of her in this vlog as well because she's just so adorable. I'll just keep saying it. Like, every time she walks into the room, I'm just like, oh, you're so cute. But yeah, I feel like that's all the updates and stuff that I have to share with you guys to kick off this vlog. Well, actually, one more thing. Obviously, I said I need to talk about Wind and Truth, so we're gonna talk about Wind and Truth really quickly. I don't know if I'm gonna have like a crazy amount of things to say about this, again because it's really hard to talk about the 5th book in a series full of like 1,000-page books. But just generally my thoughts on this book, let's talk about them. So I'm thinking this, out of the 5 books, ranking wise, I think Wind and Truth is gonna be number 5. Obviously this is still a great book and I'm loving my time reading this, but like compared to the other 4 in the series, it's just like my least favorite out of all of them thus far. And obviously there's a reason for this, because even though it is the last book in like the first arc of Stormlight, it's not like the last book in the series, you know? So it does fall like kind of in the middle of the series, and it's spending a lot of time wrapping up the events of the first arc, but like also setting up things for the second arc. So it has a lot to do, hence why it's like 1,300 pages, but I feel like it's very like plot forward, and I feel like there have been less character moments that I've really enjoyed. I feel like there have been just a lot less like really epic moments that have been going on. I'm sure the ending will be incredibly exciting, and I am very much preparing for that. But up until this point, I'm 1,100 pages into this book, you know? And it just hasn't been capturing my attention as much as the other books in the series have. There are definitely some cool things that we found out, but I was also kind of expecting to find out like more things up until this point. And again, I feel like we're maybe leading to something, but I feel like the whole time I've been reading this book, I'm like, all right, we're gonna get like a cool reveal, like in a little bit, and then like we don't. So again, it's not that I'm not liking the book, because I really, really am. I love these characters so much, so anytime I get to hang out with them, I'm having a really good time. I also really enjoy the flashbacks that we're getting in this book. I think they're like, they rank low among like the characters that are centered in the Stormlight books. Like obviously Khaled and Shallan and Dalinar are my favorite backstories that we got to go into, because they were all so emotional. They were all so just like up and down, especially, oh, just, it's so good. Like those three are just so good. And I love getting Szeth's backstory in this book. I think it's really interesting because he's kind of like an enigma throughout the entirety of the series. You don't really know what he's about, what he's up to. You don't know a lot, like, really anything about him. So seeing what led up to the prologue of The Way of Kings, I've really, really enjoyed. But just know that I'm having a great time still. It's just not quite exactly at the level as the other ones are for me, which I was kind of expecting going into this one. I feel like my enjoyment of Stormlight has like very, very slightly dwindled as I've gone like later in the series, because I love the first two books so much, really enjoy Oathbringer, really liked Rhythm of War. And I feel like this one is like kind of on the same par as Rhythm of War, you know? I feel like these books are going to be really good on a reread though, because obviously I will be rereading the first arc of Stormlight at some point in time. I feel like these books have crazy rereadability because the amount of things that you do find out throughout the series, and even like the smaller things that you're finding out in this book and like the POVs that you get to follow in this one, they just add so much more detail to all of the things that are going on in the early parts of the series, so I'm very excited for that. Also, something I am really enjoying about this book is that we are getting a lot of POVs, and also the chapters are like so much shorter, I feel, than the chapters that are in like the other books in Stormlight, and I don't even know why that is, but we are like constantly bouncing back and forth between points of view. But typically that does tend to work for me in books, and it is definitely working for me in Wind and Truth. I just feel like we're always kind of like bouncing back and forth between a lot of different things because all of our characters are in very different places, which you may think would be jarring, but I don't find it to be jarring. I just really like that kind of storytelling style. But that is all I will say about Wind and Truth for the time being. Again, I want to keep it very general, very spoiler free, but I also did want to share me like reading the end of Wind and Truth with you guys, so I will hopefully be finishing it up today maybe. I do have, you know, big plans, big reading plans today. So that should work. Anyway, this intro is incredibly long, so I'm gonna stop talking. I just feel like it's been so long since I have vlogged. I just had a lot of things to chat about. So without any further preamble, we are just going to get into it. As I said, I'm going to be reading Wind and Truth this morning. I think I might also paint my little stars this morning, which will be fun. I really hope you guys enjoy the vlog. I would obviously love to know what you guys have been reading since the last time I talked to you. I feel like it's been forever since we've had a little bit of a chat. So let's get into the vlog. NOC. Not for you, but for me, because it has been 5 days since I filmed the intro bit for this vlog, because the day after I filmed that intro, I lost my voice completely. Like, I sounded just like any insert dying animal here, that's what I sounded like. And I still don't sound the best, but my voice is at least here. She is with us in the room, so I'm here to pick up the vlog again. It is currently Friday morning, and I do have some reading update, well, like one reading update for you guys, which you already know what it is, so like it's not that fun. But let's talk about it, because I did finish up the longest book that I've ever read officially, which is very fun, Wind and Truth by Brandon Sanderson. And I still have like kind of conflicting feelings about it, honestly. And I feel like potentially my expectations were just a tad too high with this one, but also I don't think that's the whole problem, because I think this book severely lacked one of my favorite parts of the entirety of the Stormlight archive, which is those epic moments, those moments that just make you so like actually excited, and you're just rooting for our characters so hard that when, you know, something really cool happens, or they like say something really like awesome, you know, you just get like so excited. Even Oathbringer and Rhythm of War, which overall I don't love quite as much as I love the first 2 books in the series, there are still those moments and there are still those things that the characters say that you just can't help but be like, oh yeah, like let's go. But this book didn't have any of those, you know? And then what if like something that also kind of upsets me with this book is that there's a phrase, I think it's in Words of Radiance maybe, that is like reused in this book. I'm like, all right, it was so cool the first time. It's one of my favorite things that any of the characters say in the books, as it is for a lot of people, because like it's that good. But like one of our characters says it again in this book. I'm like, the effect is gone. Like, why would you say it again? Like, I hated that, honestly. I was like, why didn't you just write something that was like equally as cool? So that did upset me. I can't lie. Another one of the main things that I didn't really end up loving about this book, which initially I was kind of liking where Sanderson was like going with this character, and like overall I did enjoy it, but I feel like it, like especially with the mental health rep, I feel like for some of our characters it kind of lacked the nuance that it had earlier in the series. But I feel like this book was maybe a tad too on the nose in how it was going about dealing with some of our characters' mental health issues. And one of the things that I really praise the early part of Stormlight for is how it deals with those mental issues, because our main character, Kaladin, is incredibly depressed throughout the beginning of this book. I mean, he's in a low place. He's in a lot of low places throughout the series, but he also has those moments where they're like really high highs, and the juxtaposition between those is just amazing, honestly, and I love how it's done in the earlier parts of the series. But in this book with a certain set of characters, I just feel like the way it's done isn't quite as subtle. Like, I liked what came of it, but I didn't like the way it was done. Those are my main 2 issues with the book. Granted, they're kind of big issues because they are some of the reasons that I really loved the earlier books in the series, and I feel like in this book, I'm just let down a little bit by them. But I don't want you guys to think that I didn't like this book, because I genuinely really enjoyed my time reading it. I think for a 1,300 page book, it's honestly pretty well paced. I think in the beginning, I was reading it kind of slowly. Like around the 160 page mark, I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to, I don't know if I can read more of this right now. But then like when I pushed through and I started to like read it more consistently, it didn't really feel like it was that long of a book. And this book is also told over a period of 10 days. Like instead of being split into parts, it is split into those 10 days. And I just really felt like the more you move through the book and the closer you got through the end, you could really just feel the time like ticking down to this thing that was gonna happen, which I just really enjoyed that kind of storytelling structure. I also did really love some of our characters' kind of arcs that they went on, specifically in this book. The one character who initially I wasn't like super into, I was like halfway through the book, I was like, I don't want any more POVs from this man, you know? But then as the book progressed, I was like, why does he have the best POVs in this book? I was shocked, because traditionally in the earlier books in the series, I'm not an Adolin fan, okay? Like, he's fine. He's kind of a himbo, which sometimes is cool. Not cool, but like, you know, entertaining. That's a better word for it. But like, for the most part, whenever he got a POV, unless like something juicy was happening, I was like, like whatever. I didn't really like care that much for Adolin. But as we got to the end of this book, the things he was experiencing, the revelations he was having about his position that he's been given in life, I was like, this is actually so good. And why does he have like the best points of view in this book? Like, he just shot up on my list of characters I enjoy reading about, which shocked me because halfway through the book, I was like, man, I do not care about what he is doing in, where is he, like Aesir or something. Another point of view that I really enjoyed getting a little bit more in this book is Renarin. He's definitely a character that I've really liked seeing like small glimpses of in the other books, but he kind of has not necessarily a prominent role in this one, but he has like more of a prominent role in this one. And I feel like even though some of the things going on in his point of view may seem a bit trivial considering the giant event that's going on in the rest of the world, I feel like, you know, the rest of the points of view are like tackling that. And he's kind of contributing to that in his own way, but there are also like some moments of levity due to some things that are like happening in his points of view, which I really loved. I loved those chapters a lot, honestly. I must say though, despite the couple of issues that I have with this book, I do find it to be a very satisfying ending to the first arc of Stormlight, and I feel like I'll probably like it even more on a reread, which I definitely will be rereading all of these books. Like honestly, the last few days, I've been like, should I reread The Way of Kings? It's been almost 4 years since I read it, and I remember like virtually nothing about it. And I feel like that's not good. So A Way of Kings reread is in my future, not anytime soon. Maybe I'll force my patrons to read it with me. That'd be kind of fun. I don't even know how I got to talking about how I want to reread Stormlight. Satisfying ending. I liked it. I liked where everything ended up with the characters. It didn't feel quite as wrapped up as I was expecting it to. I feel like a lot of things happened at the end of this book that do lead in so well to the second arc of the series, and it makes you so intrigued, even though I found out I can't talk about it. The second arc of Stormlight, I don't think is coming out until like 2033. I'm gonna be 33 when the next Stormlight book comes out, which makes me sad because that is 8 years from now. I know there are like a bunch of other Cosmere books that are coming out in this time because Mistborn Era 3 comes out, which I'm really excited about. I think Elantris 2 and 3 are coming out, which I'm very interested in. So I'm very excited about those, obviously, but like Stormlight is still my favorite Sanderson series. So I'm like, what do you mean I have to wait 8 years? But it's fine. I will be patiently waiting in that time. But like the fact that our characters are like, we're not all happy. It's not like a happy ending. It's kind of just like, here's where we're stopping for the next 8 years. I'm like, excuse me? But that's okay with me because it feels like a satisfying conclusion while still having those open-ended things that are keeping me very intrigued in the rest of Stormlight. So is there anything else I want to say? I feel like it's always so hard to talk about Stormlight because so much happens in it. I'm like, did I forget anything? I certainly have like spoilery things that I want to say, but I will not go into them here, obviously. But I'm satisfied, not as satisfied as I wanted to be, but it was still so good. Like, just to put it into perspective, this is probably like a 4.25. Rhythm of War and Oathbringer are like a 4.5 type vibe. And then Way of Kings and Words of Radiance are 5 stars. So it's just like gotten very, very minutely not as good. For me personally, I know some people really liked this one. I know it has also been receiving some mixed reviews and such, but for what it was, I had a good time. I can't believe I'm finished reading Stormlight for the time being. That's so sad. Reading The Way of Kings is one of the first vlogs that I posted on my channel, and now that I'm finished reading all 5 of them, especially because this series is just so damn long. Like, it's so different from finishing like a really short like quintet kind of thing. Like, no, these are long books. I've spent like 6,000 pages with these characters. So now that it's done, I'm just like, oh, damn. There's Stormlight. I lied though. I have one other reading update. Also, I realized the lighting's getting a bit funky, but it'll be fine. Because I did start a book that I did not initially put on my TBR for this video, but the hold for the audiobook came in from Libby the other day, so I decided to go ahead and start it while I was cleaning because I'm finally getting around to reading The Third Gilmore Girl by Kelly Bishop, which is like her memoir that she released last year, I think. I'm only about 12% into it, so I'm not like that far into it, but why have I almost cried like 3 times? Like, I don't think I've ever read a memoir before, but like especially hearing it read by the author. I know this is not like a new thing like a lot of authors of memoirs read their own stuff, but it's always just so much more impactful that way, and she hasn't even said anything that's sad yet. Obviously, I'm not here to like review her memoir because I feel like that's kind of weird, but I am here to like, you know, talk about it, share my experience, because I'm really enjoying it so far. I, like just about every other person on the planet, really love Gilmore Girls. I've seen it a couple times through. I was really excited when I heard that this memoir was coming out, and it has not disappointed thus far, because so far she's been talking about her experience working on A Chorus Line, which was like her first like lead role in a Broadway production kind of thing. And me and my mom have been listening to the soundtrack to A Chorus Line for as long as I can remember, far before I started watching Gilmore Girls. So when I found out as I was watching Gilmore Girls that Kelly Bishop was one of the people in the original production, I was like, oh my god, that's so cool. So I loved it already, like, for that reason, and then hearing her talk about it and hearing how her personal experiences were used in some of the songs for A Chorus Line, I was like, that's so cool. And I never would have known that had I not like read this memoir. So I have really enjoyed it so far. This is honestly like all she's talked about, but I'm loving it. I'm also really excited because I was talking to my mom, and I think she's going to listen to the audiobook of it as well, because she also loves Gilmore Girls. She also loves the soundtrack for A Chorus Line. So I'm excited for her to read it, and then we can talk about it. She never reads, so this is a big moment. So I can't wait for that. But I'm just really excited to listen to some more of it. This is like the first nonfiction book that I have read in a very long time. So I'm liking it. It's just like, you know, something different to add on in there. So I'll listen to the audiobook a little bit more. I don't know if I'm gonna finish it throughout the weekend. I don't know how long it's gonna take me. I'm not really like prioritizing it, but I'm loving it so far. But those are just the couple of reading updates that I have for you guys. But obviously I have big reading plans for this weekend because I still want to finish my 3 sci-fi novellas. I'm still planning to do that. I haven't read any of them yet, so we'll see how that goes. But I have 3 days. I feel like I'm loosely gonna read 1 per day. We'll see how it goes. But I also do have a little bit of book mail, but it's related to what we're talking about because I did get a little box set of the first 4 Murderbot books. I found them, a new box set of them on Pengo for a decent price. And there's just something about a hardback novella that I love. I always just think they're so freaking cute. Like, they're just so small. They're just so nice to hold, you know? So when I saw that there was a little box set of these, I decided to go ahead and buy them. I think I bought them the day after Christmas, and like Pengo was running a sale or something, and I had some Pengo bucks, so I was like, yeah, I will acquire for my collection. So I have the first 4. I have already read All Systems Red. I read this on my Kindle a while ago, but I would reread this honestly. So I'm not sad that I have a copy. Then you have the others. So I'm going to be reading Artificial Condition, I think today probably. So that's the second one. Then we have Rogue Protocol and Exit Strategy. So have, you know, I think there's 7 Murderbot books out, but obviously I will be reading book number 2 hopefully today. I mean, it's only 150 pages, so it seems doable. So I'm gonna get into some reading. I'm gonna stop talking. I just feel like it's been so long since I updated you. So I had a lot to say, but I also just, you know, had a lot to say about Wind and Truth. I'm sorry these updates are so long. I don't know how to stop talking. But Artificial Condition, I'm reading it this morning. right, there's someone I want you guys to meet. It's little Daisy. She never really comes in here because Winnie hates her. So I wanted to drag her on in here for a moment so you guys could meet her. Please get your butt out of my face, ma'am. Say hi. Oh, she's so cute. Maybe not the pencil lead. That's not good. Say, look here. Oh, she's so freaking cute. I'm obsessed with her. But yeah, her and Winnie have really not been getting along recently. So she doesn't really come in here a lot, but I wanted to oh, she is rubbing up against the mic. I'm sorry if you can hear that. But I wanted to take a chance to let her in here so you guys could meet her, but I think I'm gonna let her go back into the hallway. But here she is. She's like a calico tabby mix, which I've never seen before, but she's so beautiful. And I will let you go, ma'am. I'm sorry. Go wreak some havoc. But yeah, I had to let you guys officially meet her because she's just so freaking cute. But aside from that, I'm here to give you guys a reading update because I did finish up Artificial Condition. I didn't give like a halfway through update because I don't like giving halfway through updates with novellas, because I feel like I hardly have enough to say in one update, let alone in two. So I just decided to go ahead and finish it. And I really like this one. I liked this one maybe even more than the first one, potentially. I feel like this is just a really enjoyable series and something that I'm just gonna really like as I read through the rest of it, because I do plan to read whatever's out. I also know that it is, I think, getting a TV show on Apple TV maybe, that comes out in June, potentially, so I will be watching that. I don't think I've ever like properly watched a sci-fi TV show before, unless you want to count something like Stranger Things. But like this is like, you know, an in-space sci-fi thing. So I'm really excited about that actually, and I cannot wait to watch that, and hopefully I will be, well actually it probably doesn't matter if I'm like super caught up on the series because it's only, you know, the first season, but I'm excited for that, just like generally. But let's talk about Artificial Condition. Let me kind of tell you a little bit about this series as a whole, because I did not get to talk about the first one because I read it not in a video. So this series is following our main character, who is the titular Murderbot. And basically they are a robot who is kind of contracted out by their company, which I think is called The Company, to, you know, assist humans or augmented humans as they go and do things on different planets. They're kind of there as, you know, like security in a way. And in the first book, we're following Murderbot as they are on a planet with a group of humans that are like doing some research in the area, and things kind of go to crap, basically. I really like the sci-fi elements that are brought into this series. I feel like it's a really good place to start with sci-fi, at least as, you know, as somebody who is starting with sci-fi, because it does feel very sci-fi, but it's like, they're novellas. It's nothing crazy. It's not going into anything like too complex or like hard to comprehend, which I really like because I think it strikes a good balance between following our character Murderbot and like learning more about them, as well as pulling in those sci-fi elements, those like cool spacey things, you know? But I really love following Murderbot because they have basically hacked their own governor module, which means they have control over themselves as opposed to the company or the humans having control over them. But obviously they don't want anybody to know this, so while they like go along and do like their typical day-to-day duties, they also love to spend time watching their soaps, which I think is hilarious. Like Murderbot loves a good soap opera. It has its favorites, and it's always talking about how, you know, it would rather be living in a world of fiction with these like TV shows that it's watching as opposed to like actually doing its job, which is obviously like so relatable. Murderbot is just an incredibly relatable character, even though it's literally a robot that is designed for murder, but you still just feel so endeared to them. But in this book, we're following Murderbot as they go on a personal quest of sorts. They end up sneaking onto this ship, which is also a robot, and they kind of have this like slow build of a friendship almost. And I think it's been really interesting to see like the levels of different robots that they have in this world, because you have things like sec units, which is what Murderbot is, which is kind of designed to look like a human, but it's still very much artificial intelligence. And then with this ship that Murderbot gets onto, it's like literally a ship, but it's also artificial intelligence. And then they also have things called augmented humans, which are humans that can elect to get like robot parts kind of implanted into them almost to, I don't know, just improve things about themselves, which I think is interesting. And then they also have humans. So kind of seeing how all of those kind of interact within the society I found to be really interesting, and kind of the general attitude towards all of these different types of AI I've really enjoyed learning about as well. I also really enjoy the humor that is injected into the story as well. It's nothing over the top, but it's really just Murderbot being cynical, being kind of depressed, I would say, in a way, and not really wanting to do much of anything aside from watch his shows. I also really enjoy the interactions that Murderbot has with the humans that he ends up working with, because even though they play it off like they don't care about the humans, they're kind of just there to, you know, clock in, clock out, do what they're supposed to do. Over these 2 books, they have ended up forming somewhat of an attachment to these humans and kind of doing more than would be expected to protect these humans, and kind of seeing how Murderbot is dealing with those feelings and analyzing them and kind of being like, oh, I don't care about the humans, and then, you know, stepping in to save the day, kind of, I have really enjoyed as well. And I'm also just really interested to see where this series goes, because there's definitely kind of an girl. She's out there clawing up my carpet. She is in the room. Because thus far, the 2 kind of missions that Murderbot has gone on do seem somewhat unrelated, but I think there's kind of this overarching thing that's going to come into the series a little bit more clearly as it goes on, involving the company that Murderbot works with, and we're kind of, especially in this one, diving into Murderbot's past, and you're kind of seeing what potentially might have happened and what might have happened due to the actions of kind of a bigger, maybe potentially evil corporation, which I think is just going to be really interesting to kind of see that come more into focus as the series goes on. So overall, I think this is a great series, and I'd really recommend if you've been, you know, thinking about picking it up maybe, because it has those moments of humor, but it also has those moments of like action thrown in there where you see Murderbot doing kind of what you would expect a Murderbot to do. I think the juxtaposition to, you know, Murderbot just acting like a Murderbot and like brutally eliminating a lot of the kind of more evil people that are coming into the story. The juxtaposition between that and then just like everyday Murderbot like bantering with this ship, watching his shows, I really love that as well. And I also really love the discussions thrown in here about how Murderbot feels about being a sec unit, how Murderbot feels about the level of citizenship that it is granted, and it also kind of talks about the level of citizenship of a lot of the other like different types of AI that are in this world, which I think is very interesting because there are a lot of different attitudes and feelings towards certain levels of artificial intelligence, especially as they get like closer and closer to feeling human. So I've just really enjoyed all of this series so far, and I will be probably reading the 3rd one in my next video. I would read it in this video if I didn't already have like 2 other books that I want to read. Maybe I'll get crazy and do it. I probably won't. Anyway, it's currently Saturday morning. I don't have a lot of plans today, which is shocking, I know. But I do have like things I want to do. So I want to do my January journal setup because even though it's the 18th and we are well over halfway through the month, I still would like to have a January journal setup. She's so curious about everything. She's thinking about coming through. Are you going to? No? And then my other main plan for today is to read. Am I gonna read this one? I'm gonna read one of these books. I don't know which one. I honestly think A Prayer for the Crown Shy might be a little bit easier to read than This Is How You Lose the Time War, because I like, what are you doing? I like read the first page of this, and it's not like hard to read, but it's like, you know, it's a little bit of an elevated writing style. So I might want to tackle this one first, and then I can like, you know, jump into this one. I don't know, we'll see what I'm feeling later. I could also just read the 3rd Murderbot book. Who knows? I have so many sci-fi novella options. So I'm gonna go like get into doing all of that. I also need to water my plants. That is order of business number 1 because they are dying. Those are kind of my Saturday plans. Nothing crazy per usual, but I am excited nonetheless. It is now Sunday morning. I honestly don't have any substantial reading updates for you, but I do have like 3 small updates that I'm gonna share before I get into whatever else I'm doing today. The first one being that I'm actually going to be DNFing a book. Now, I'm not like a big DNFer. I don't really DNF a lot of books in my vlogs, especially because for whatever reason, I'm like, obviously I need to read the books I said I'm gonna read in the intro or else people are gonna like hate it or whatever. Which is not true. And I need to realize that. And I need to stop pushing myself through books that I don't want to read for the sake of reading the TBR that I had initially set out to read. So I'm getting better about that this year. That's one of my goals. So I'm gonna be starting that goal off well by DNFing This Is How You Lose the Time More. This is more of a soft DNF because it's not necessarily that I wasn't liking the book. It's more so that this isn't the kind of book that I want to read right now. Because after finishing Wind and Truth, which is like 1,300 pages, it was a lot, honestly. I want to read books that are just like a little bit easier to read and comprehend, because even though Wind and Truth isn't like hard to comprehend, there's still like a lot of information that you're being given, a lot of things to keep track of. It's a more elevated reading experience in its own way. And that's not what I want from the books that I'm gonna pick up like right now. So this one, I'm having an issue mainly with the writing style because it's very pretty. It's very kind of poetic in a way, but it is so incredibly wordy. And it's wordy to a point where I'm kind of having an issue parsing what they're trying to say, which sometimes I can get into because some of my favorite books are pretty wordy, honestly. And sometimes I am down to dedicate the time to kind of read them more slowly, kind of appreciate the writing style a little bit more, but like that's really just not what I want right now. So soft DNF, at some point I might get back to it, I'm not sure. I made it like 40 pages in and I was just like, I just really don't want to read this right now. So I will not be finishing this book in this vlog, but if you guys have read this book and you have thoughts and opinions on it, I would love to know what you thought of it. I feel like I've never seen somebody say something bad about this book. So I was like, you know, debating with myself. I was like, should I just keep pushing through? Like, will it get better? And then I was like, you know what? I can push through some other time and it'll be fine. But if you guys have read this book and you have opinions on it, let me know. Like, should I pick it back up at some point in time? I'd love to know. Another reading update, I did start A Prayer for the Crown Shy. This one I will definitely be reading today, which I'm very excited about. This book honestly gives me Sunday morning kind of vibes, and I cannot wait to kind of get back into this. I'm currently on page 22. So not a lot of progress, but honestly, in the grand scheme of how long this book is, that's some decent progress. So I am definitely going to be reading all of this today. I'm very excited to see where this one goes, because I think it might have like a slightly different vibe from the first one, while still maintaining that, you know, somewhat philosophical, figuring out what you want to do with your life kind of message to it, which I enjoy. Because in the first one, it's kind of a more solitary adventure for Dex and Mosscap, I would say. Because in that one, Dex is kind of like going on their own journey and they meet Mosscap along the way, and it's like the first interaction between a robot and a human in decades. But in this book, people are finding out that, you know, this robot wants to make contact with humans, and obviously that is big news. So they're kind of I don't remember what they called it, but they're going on like a tour of sorts to like celebrate the fact that robots and humans are making contact again. So obviously that would entail them interacting with more of the people on this world, which I'm excited about. I think that's going to be interesting just to like learn more about this world. I love the dynamic between Mosscap and Dex, and I'm excited to see a little bit more of that in this book as their friendship is a little bit more established. So very excited to read some more of that today. And then I also made some more progress in the third Gilmore Girl, which I think I'm going to be maybe finishing up today because I only have like 3 hours left of it. I'm currently at 60% and I'm continuing to really enjoy it. Kelly Bishop is just so funny, and seeing that kind of come through in her writing in this memoir I've really enjoyed. I also just love seeing some of those big moments in her career and kind of hearing her talk about them. She talked about her winning her Tony for a chorus line in like 1976, I think, and hearing her talk about it was cool. And then I went and I watched like the little clip of her winning it that's on YouTube, which was like, you know, a nice little supplemental thing while I was reading this. I will probably be finishing up that as I like do some things today. I don't really have any plans for what I want to do today aside from reading, so like that's all I have for you guys in this update. So I definitely want to focus on finishing A Prayer for the Crown Shy first. This is my first order of business. And then I'll see what I get up to the rest of the day. Probably not a lot, if I'm being honest. It's kind of like a chill Sunday. I still have some editing to do, which I will also be doing throughout today, so nothing crazy. But let's get into some reading. So it is now much later. However, I have finished all of the reading that I'm planning to do for this video. So obviously I'm here to film the little outro bit. We have arrived at the end of the vlog. So, things I did today. Most importantly, I finally finished my stupid star blanket. I've been trying to just add the last rose on this blanket for like a month and a half, honestly, at this point. And I'm so glad that it is finally finished. I just feel like I kept doing things that I was like intending to be the border, and it never looked finished. I just never liked how it looked. But I think I finally have, I'm finally done. It is finished. And even though I had like so much of an issue with finishing this one, I'm already planning on making another one because I have a bunch of like half-used skeins of yarn that I've used for various projects and such, and I feel like it'd be fun to do like a very, very colorful version of this blanket as opposed to just having like 6 colors. I would be having like, you know, this many colors. More, another, these as well. Just all of them, you know. I feel like it'd be kind of fun. So I might be doing that at some point in time soon. I'm kind of excited about it. It sounds fun. And the early parts of this blanket, when you're still like in the center of it and it's really small, are really fun because they go by quite quickly. So just wanted to update you that it's finally done. It took me like 3 months, but that's okay. And I just wanted to share the fact that I did finish this up. So very exciting. Finally got myself to do it. But also, since the last time we talked, I have finished 2 books, so let's quickly talk about it. First of all, I finished up the 3rd Gilmore Girl, which again, I just really enjoyed. But aside from that, I feel like I don't really have much else to say about it, aside from the fact that it was really good and I enjoyed getting to see a little bit more of a glimpse into her life. I'd definitely say if you like Gilmore Girls, you should check it out, because she doesn't spend, you know, a super long time in the book talking about Gilmore Girls, but she does spend a decent amount of time talking about it. And then I also really loved hearing what led up to it and kind of what she's been doing after. So I liked it, big fan. I've been meaning to read this one for a while, so I'm glad I finally did. And it's one of my goals this year to read more nonfiction, which I am already, you know, we're coming in hot with that goal. And then I also did just finish up A Prayer for the Crown Shy, which I again also really liked. I kind of feel the same way towards this one as I felt towards the first one, which is I love the message of this book and I really like the characters. The characters are really endearing. It's certainly not a favorite book, but I think it's just a really comforting kind of story to read if you need like a little bit of a pick-me-up. I really loved in this one going to all of these different places on, I think they call it Panga, and kind of getting to see a glimpse into the cultures that are like present on this planet. I think Panga's the planet. I don't 100% remember, but I like the widening of the scope in this series. I also just really enjoyed getting to learn a little bit more about like society on this planet as a whole. There's this whole part where Dex was explaining to Moscap their like monetary customs or like lack thereof that are present in this world. I just thought it was a really interesting and cool way to kind of have that monetary system set up. And it also gave you a little bit more of an insight into the values of the people that are on this planet as well, as opposed to like you know, exchanging money for things. They kind of exchange favors in a way for things. I don't know how to explain it, honestly. Read the book if you want to know. It's quite philosophical at times, but I don't think it has like a super wide scope as far as that goes. It's very much just about, you know, finding your purpose in life, or maybe establishing the fact that you don't need to have a purpose in life. And I really enjoyed everybody's kind of musings on that topic. So yeah, I liked it a lot. Very fun. I really love Mossbot and Mosscap and Dex. I think they have a really great friendship, and seeing it kind of develop a little bit like further in this book I really liked. I'd be interested to know if this is going to remain a duology or if there are going to be more books in the series, because I feel like there's definitely room for there to be more books in the series. Like, it wasn't a like complete conclusion, you know, but you could almost take it as like a more open-ended conclusion. So if anybody knows if there's going to be another book, let me know. I think this one came out like a few years ago, so I feel like maybe there won't be, or else Becky Chambers would have, you know, done it already. But yeah, this came out in 2022, so I don't know, but I'd like to know if you guys know. But with that, those are all of the books that I was planning to read in this video. I'll give you a little quick recap. Obviously, I just read those two. I also read Artificial Condition, which I really, really enjoyed, and I cannot wait to get to the third book in the Murderbot series, which is Rogue Protocol, I think. So look at that. I don't know what's going on there, but I'm excited. And then obviously, the big accomplishment of the vlog is that I finished Wind and Truth. I still can't believe it's done. Every time I think about it, I get a little bit sad, honestly. Also, something I wanted to address, because I get so many questions about it. So many of you guys, when I talk about Brandon Sanderson and the Cosmere in my videos, so many of you guys ask me where to start with Brandon Sanderson. And I don't think there's any one, like, correct place to start with Sanderson. I think you could really pick up any of the first books in his Given series, or you could pick up Elantris or Warbreaker, or The Secret Projects would also be a decent place to start. I don't think, from what I know, I don't think Sunlit Man would be a good place to start, but like Yumi or Tress have like Cosmere related things in them, but they also stand on their own just fine. So anything would work, but if you want my suggestion, I personally think, it's at the bottom of the stack, girl said grab it. I personally think The Final Empire, Mistborn #1, I think the name of the first book in the Mistborn series has been like just, it's Mistborn now, which I don't like, honestly, because I love the Final Empire. I don't know, I'm just very fond of that as a book title. But that is where I would recommend you start. I think it's just really easy to get into the world. It's not as long as the books in the Stormlight archive, but it is a part of a series, so you get to, like, you know, follow these characters for a substantial amount of pages and really get attached to them. I also love the Mistborn magic system. It is my favorite magic system out of any of his books, even though the one in Stormlight is very cool. It's also very wide in scope. So I kind of like how simple, almost, like, I don't know if I'd call it simple, because it like expands and grows as you go throughout the series, but I just really like the seemingly simplistic nature to allomancy, which is where people like ingest metals. So it's also pretty straightforward and easy to understand, which also just makes it so good. So there's my 2 cents on it, because I do get asked that question quite frequently. I think The Final Empire is an excellent place to start. But yes, I read 4 books in this video, all of these. Woo, so excited about it. My voice is still not completely back, which makes me upset, but at least I don't have to keep talking anymore, because I've arrived at the end of the update, or outro. The outro update. So obviously I would love to know, what was the first book that you guys read in 2025? Or if you have not finished your first book of 2025, which would totally be okay. I would love to know what you are planning to pick up first. Also, before we go, I would like to thank everybody over on my Patreon. If you are ever looking for more content from me, that is always linked down below. But with that, I'm going to let you guys go. I again really hope you guys enjoyed my first vlog of 2025. So exciting, so fun. Very excited for the reading year that is to come. I hope you all are having an amazing Monday, or whatever day it is that you are watching this video, and I will see you all in my next one. Bye!